Hey everyone, and welcome to a special episode of the Love Light Show where I have two guests today. This is my first time doing two guests, so I'm so excited to bring you this awesomeness on how you can rewrite your life and get on with it. Like, completely let go of the things that you've been holding back, like the inner secrets that might have been tormenting you. If you're feeling like you're unheard in your life and you really want to move forward, and the cats are so excited that we're doing this. They're just like, yes, can we get on here? So if you hear stuff in the background, it's not my kitty. We're not at my place. But there's two cats who are so excited that we're doing this too. So definitely tune in for this because we're going to do an awesome cathartic writing experience at the end that'll support you. We're also going to do an awesome healing and show you what to do with it as well. And they're also promoting an amazing workshop that's coming up. So if you're in the Moncton area, get so excited for this. I'm so excited that this is coming to you guys, and that'll help you really take control of your story and have a more empowering meaning around it. They're going to talk about the power of words, writing your story, rewriting your story, and some affirmations and awesome stuff. There's so many awesome good things. So definitely say hi as you're joining us live. We have 5 people on right now, so say hi. Definitely say hi for catching the replay later. And let us know how this is for you as we go through it. If you have any different feelings or experiences or questions as we go along, we love engaging with you guys, even after the show. So let us know how this is going for you guys. So I'm Laura McPhee. I'm a joyful goddess. I'm a speaker, healer, and coach. People saying hi. Hi, Sherry. And I love to empower women through self-love and care so they can get to their dream happy life, so that they can truly be the change they want to see in the world and show up having a better, brighter version of themselves all the time. So you can let go of that negative voice that's in the back of your head or even at the front of your head saying that you're not good enough or smart enough or pretty enough or whatever enough. You can move forward on your journey just being more happy and healthy and fulfilled. And one of the ways I'm doing that right now is my 5-day free Happiest Me in 2018 challenge. So that's my Be Your Best Self community. I'll be sure to link that in the comments afterwards. Day 1 was super easy. It took you 30 seconds to do. So there's still time to join. No excuses. If you want to be happier now, not next month, not next year, you have the tools and resources available. I'm also going to do awesome healings and meditations in the group this week. So definitely join that if you feel like you need some extra happiness in your life and you're ready to do it right now. So I'm so excited for that. I'm also doing it in a webinar format next Sunday. Some people were like, I get super busy throughout the week. I'd rather just all in one go. So I'm doing a webinar on Sunday at 7:30 Atlantic, 6:30 Eastern. So that'll support you guys as well. So definitely register, and I'll put that link in there too. All kinds of people are popping on live. And hey, Emily and Bridget. And 3 beautiful angels. Yes, thank you guys so much. And hey, Wanda, good morning, beautiful goddesses. Yes, good morning, everyone. So we are actually going to explain who's everyone in the middle. So that's an interesting question. There's a beautiful cat, for one. This is Billy. But we also have Shannon and Kayla joining us today. And they have really awesome expertise in flipping your story and making way more empowering meanings, which is why I had to do this special episode today, to get you guys this information, have this amazing experience, and also have the healing at the end because it's super powerful. So Shannon, I've known for years. She's a wonderful friend of mine, and she has 20 years of experience in different healing modalities, of palmistry and theta healing. She's a journalist. She has incredible knowledge and wisdom, and I go to her for help and mentorship all the time. So she's amazing. You definitely need to start following her if you're not already. And this is Kayla. She's a new friend to me. So she's a nationally recognized author, and she specializes in writing, mentorship, and development. So I'm so excited to give you guys their expertise today. And this is the Love Light Show. We're usually every Monday, but this is a special episode. So usually Mondays at 1 Atlantic, 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific, we share different light workers and healers and coaches and amazing entrepreneurs who are heart-centered, who are showing up and doing their work so that you can be a better version of yourself. So you can do that inner work so that you can feel like a happier, healthier, better version of yourself for the people in your life, for your family and your friends and your loved ones and the community around you, so that you can truly be the change you want to see in the world, and it all starts with you. And more people saying hi and have fun. Awesome. I love this instead of Be Live. I think this is probably getting more reach because it's live. It's cool. A lot of people popping on. So very cool. So I'm going to let these ladies introduce themselves a little bit more and tell you a little bit more about how you can change and rewrite your story.
So I'm Shannon of Spirit Fox Wellness, and yes, Laura and I have known each other for a couple of years, maybe a few even. And writing has always been a really important thing for me. I wrote journals as a kid, And I decided to go to journalism school. I actually worked for our national broadcaster for a while. And I discovered that I'd rather help people tell their own stories than make news out of them. So as I've become a healer and learned how to impact and create that empowerment that we love to see in the world, I decided to work with Kayla, who's a phenomenal writer, to offer a workshop. So that's why we're here together to create this phenomenal thing. And Kayla, in my opinion, is an expert with her writing skills and abilities.
Yay!
So I don't know if you want to take a minute and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kayla. So I've been writing pretty much since I was 5 years old, not professionally, obviously. So I went to the University of New Brunswick and I graduated with a master's degree in creative writing. That's something that I always wanted to do. That was part of my dream. Not everybody wants to go to university, and I don't blame you at all. So I had a lot of issues and things that I needed to deal with over my life. And as I got into my early 30s, they really became a critical thing for me to address. And so I went to personal therapy, didn't help me very well. I went to holistic healers, and that made such a huge difference in my life. So while I'm not a healer myself, it's something that's interested me, and I've always liked to help people with their writing. So this was just kind of a natural thing for me to say, Shannon, let's kind of see if we can do this and see if we can help people with their writing. There's so many ways that you can grow and learn more about yourself and really help yourself become, a more complete person and, be the change you want to see in the world. Absolutely.
I love it so much. And you guys have already done it before, so this is the second round. So you guys have to go to this if you're in the Moncton area. Like, you need this in your life for sure.
So I guess one of the important points is, what does writing do to heal? How do we open that up? How do you find words to create that better version of yourself? And that's certainly something we discussed in depth in the workshop, where writing was something that was so important for both of our lives. For myself at least, I got to really see my truth, my revelation of what was going on with myself and the situations at hand, and then decide what I wanted to do with it as it presented itself for me. So it became a really healing tool. And for me, journaling was my main focus and method through it. But there's so many more other ways that you can use writing as a healing method other than journaling.
Absolutely. Writing is, I think there's a lot of preconceived notions about writing. There's so many structures and rules that are put upon us in our everyday lives, and writing is no exception. But, everybody's a writer. Everybody has that within them, whether you like poetry or journaling or fiction or, memoir writing, whatever it is that you like, it's within you to come out. And the page is a safe space for you to put down your truth, to talk about what's important to you, to regain your voice. A lot of us often find that we're crushed, or that we lose our ability to maybe communicate in the ways we honestly, or the ways that we really would like to show other people. And this can be a private act. This is something you can do at an open mic eventually. Like, there's so many routes you can take this, but it really helps you to heal. And I know for me, I can't journal. I really struggle with that, which is probably a funny thing. Like, most people I know, I love to keep a diary, and I was like, I just can't. So like, I write poetry, or I'll write fiction, or I do creative nonfiction, which is, I can explain that later. That's it's an interesting thing. So, but what it does is you get to actually put your own truth on paper, and you can find ways to heal yourself. For me, I had to learn to be really objective. I had to own my own story. So words are really important when it comes to that too.
I'm really glad that you brought up the whole point of how everyone is a writer and how you can pour yourself onto the page, because writing is a place where there's no one to tell you what the rules are. I mean, if you go and study scholarly, you're going to have some people trying to limit you and tell you what it's supposed to look like. But you and the page are the only people present, and the page will never look at you and tell you to shut up. So you can allow yourself to release and let go and pour everything. And then if you don't want anyone to see it, you can burn it, you can rip it up, you can get rid of it so there's no proof. But then you've had this release. You've had this place to confide, to express, to let go.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that a lot of people forget about when they're looking at writing as a tool. Sometimes we carry secrets that we don't want to tell or share, but they're such a burden, they're such a weight that we have to express them, we have to release them somehow. And sometimes by putting them on a page, you actually have the ability to take the power away from that secret, because now you can see it for its true form. You can see what it's actually about, and you can start looking at the elements of that thing that you're putting down. And I'm talking about that. I'm like, I don't want to give too much about structure or, techniques, but for myself, whenever I've put things down on a page, I can clearly see what I've written afterwards and go, okay, well, this is solid. There's truth in this. And okay, this is something my mind has over expanded or made too much of a big deal. It's actually not that big of a deal at all. But sometimes when the thoughts are floating around in your brain and you can't see them for what they are, the act of writing and putting them out there gives you that clarity and gives you the ability to focus and see them for what they are, for the raw truth. And then you have just that release in itself that can be a benefit of writing.
I know for me, I had a lot of trouble engaging with myself emotionally and admitting that I really did feel very angry about some things, or that I was deeply hurt. I had to, Marianne Williamson, she talks about love a lot, right? And how your journey, you come back to love. So I never had I didn't read that book, but I read one of her other ones that talks about grace. And you carry a lot of ideas about yourself that might not be true. So through writing, I was able to find grace, and I was able to find self-love, which I can honestly tell you I never thought I would. So it was really great to just have a page there and to know that it was for me. I was allowed to have a voice again. I was allowed to say, I did feel this way, and no one could judge me or try and push me into a shape that wasn't meant to be mine.
I think that brings up a really good point too, is the thing about writing is you're writing your story. You're taking your life and you're saying, this is mine, and this is the rules, and this is how it looks, and this is my boundaries. And you're describing, and you are giving your perspective and your point of view of the situation. You can write about being a victim, or you can write about being the person in power, or you can write about whatever perspective that you want to have. You are the person writing, you are the author. So you are creating what that story looks like for you. And it can be based on truth, or it can be based on creative fiction.
Anything that you want. And the best part is you get to become the hero of your own life through creating your own narrative. Our stories are so important to us. I mean, everyone's got family stories. Everyone says, let me tell you about this thing I did last week. We all want to be heard. We all want to be respected. And we don't always get that in our everyday life. And the page is a really great place to put that in. And however you want to structure it, that's also important, because we're not always going to meet our narratives in the same way that someone else would. We're all very different people, and like our voices and our experiences are so important. And you don't have to publish, and you don't have to do anything grandiose with them, but to have this, I like to call it like a dialogue with yourself, and for able to, you start that with yourself, you put it on the page, and then you can go back and look at your writing and say, like, the writing after time will actually tell you, oh, you were here, but now you're here, or maybe you've gone back to this place and now you need to work on that a little bit more. And for me, since I had issues with my emotions, and I often felt like I was out of control, or that wasn't actually the case, but how we feel is not always clear to us. So I was able to really look over time and see how I moved from one place to another, and there was a lot of calm that came into my life. There was a lot more, I felt centered in a way that I hadn't before. I always had that pillar behind me. Whatever happened, I could go home and write about it, and I could say whatever I wanted.
I love that. And I feel like it's so important for people to have the thing of, like, you can do whatever you want in whatever framework. Like, it doesn't have to be this way, or journal every day, or have any like rules around it. Because I feel like people can get really stuck in their story around, like, I need to do this every day, or I need to meet whatever some guru or higher person than themselves that they're perceiving told them to do. And sometimes I journal. At the beginning of my spiritual journey, I journaled a ton because I was moving through a ton of stuff. And it's really cool to look back years later and be like, oh my gosh, my mindset was like that. Like, I can't even identify as that person anymore. It's like I feel so much like sorrow and love for that time in my life where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was going through so much, and like I don't have that bullshit in my life anymore. So like it was super productive then. And like, I even have times now where like I have so much resistance to writing things down, but like I'm tending towards wanting to numb out or like have a thing of ice cream or like watch TV for another 3 hours. And I'm like, okay, what's happening here? Like, I don't want to keep going down that path. Like, I know this isn't my true identity. So like, what the fuck's happening inside of me? And I've literally started by like getting a sheet of paper and just write down, so I'm starting to numb out. And I don't really know why. Okay, I kind of feel sad. And then just wrote, and then I'm like crying and all this stuff comes out. And it's like, when we suppress things, it still lives inside of us. We have to deal with it in order to be a healthier, happier version of ourselves. So I really encourage you guys, even if you're feeling resistance, I like have so much resistance to writing sometimes. So I love that they're sharing a lot of different ways that you can do it and supporting you in a workshop setting and having awesome healings with it as well. It's so powerful. So I really encourage you that if you feel like you need to know out or that your story is like terrible, I encourage you to do this writing and just start small and be like, I'm going to do it for a minute. I'm going to do it for 5 minutes. So you're not like, oh, I have to like make this big story or whatever. Let go of your excuses. Just try it for a little bit. Make your next little baby step.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that brings in, maybe we can have you do a little sample of cathartic writing. So if you've got a minute, go get some paper, a napkin, a pen, anything that you can write with. You can even use your computer. And once you have that, don't think about it. Just open up your book or your notepad or whatever and time yourself. You know, set it for 2 minutes.
2 minutes, yeah.
Okay,
2 minutes
so
is good.
Got my phone, getting the clock out, and we're going to set it for 2 minutes.
And no rules. It doesn't have to look like anything. Right. Here, just connect with it and go.
So for 2 minutes, sit down and start writing.
Okay, you deserve this.
No, I'm just going to say, while you're starting that out, don't judge yourself. A lot of people, when they're starting their journey in their writing, they're going to be like, oh, well, that's a silly thing to put down. Just put it down. Because sometimes those thoughts are blocking something in behind that actually wants to come forward. So just let yourself flow. See where it takes you, and don't judge it. It could be a dialogue of, okay, well, I did this and this and this today, or it could be a writing conversation about that show you saw on TV, or it could be what you ate for breakfast and the color of the cereal. Just let it flow.
Vomit down the page.
Yes. Yep, there's the timer. So stop. Finish your sentence, whatever you've got going on.
But that went so fast. I was so more.
I know. So in 2 minutes, you could have written a word, a sentence, a statement. I got a little bit down. And now, do we want to take a minute and kind of look at what we created, what we did?
Sure.
So you can share if you want, or you can give a summary of it. And this is for you to look at what you've got on your page.
Mine was really different this time. Usually I swear a lot. That's good for me. And I put down things that frustrate me. And so there's a bit of that in there, but basically it looks at it's weird. It's good for me to see this, because when I used to journal and do this, a lot of automatic writing, I was often stuck. And now I'm not stuck, but I'm like, universe, throw me a bone here, help me get over this difficult thing. But then at the same time, I acknowledged gratitude and kindness towards myself and the universe in my writing, which I would never probably even done that years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a point I got to work at. It'll come. Patience is something I'm working on too.
I know with my little bit, I wrote starting out with something I'm struggling and looking at and healing. And then I started kind of almost writing affirmations without realizing it. But then I wrote something with the word ego in it, and I struggled to write the word ego. Like I spelled it wrong. My letters were all screwed up. So I need to look at that. That gives me a clue that there's something to do with ego that I need to examine. The fact that I couldn't put it on the page shows me I don't even want to look at it. I don't even want to go there. So that gave me a really huge clue. And I'm already going like, oh God, ego work. But it's given me a clue that, hey, this is something I need to dig. So I've already unveiled this element in my minute and a half of writing here.
Yeah, I like that you had frustration things. I'm like, I totally started with, I feel frustrated with myself. The big thing that I've been doing lately is being aware of my habits, and I want to upgrade them to become the next version of myself. So I understand that discipline is very important with that. And I went from very structured corporate life and like get up at the same time and do things and like had that structure, and being an entrepreneur, I've been like free flow and like go to bed whenever and like blah blah. But I understand like circadian rhythms are important and like all these things are important. So I get frustrated with myself when I don't get disciplined, and I like stay up late and do more things and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I like wake up later in the morning, and then that throws off that morning schedule. So now I'm trying to be like gentle and loving, but I'm like, I'm like wrote down the frustration and like that I get really disappointed with myself when these things come up, and it's very interesting to be like, oh, I don't like that I'm disappointed with myself.
So in this little segment, we uncovered some stuff about ourselves. Do we want to take it further, or do we want to share people the next piece?
We should go on, because if they're really interested, they can come join us.
Yeah,
awesome. We'd love to have you. So there's a really great experience.
There's a lot more you can do with this. This is a taste of what you can uncover and reveal. So, yeah, come check us out this Thursday.
Yes.
Now, another really important element of writing is to be aware of your words. And in my Spirit Fox business, I started with Word Wednesday for a while. I was talking about how we look at certain words and use them commonly in our language, but aren't quite aware of their meaning, their connotation, what the other side of that can bring. And when you start being aware of your words and you start learning how to use them in a different way, you get to claim a new kind of power with them. And I don't know if you two either want to throw any thoughts in. I can keep talking about this, but there's so many words that I would challenge you to consider looking at differently, like should or try.
Yeah, try's a huge one. Like whenever I hear people be like try, you can try your whole life, and like that's the energy.
Yes.
Exactly. It's like that's the energy that you're putting out and the vibration and frequency that you're in. So the universe is like, okay, they're trying. Like they've tried this before, they'll keep trying, and like it's a totally different energy when you show up saying, I am doing this. Like you just did a 2-minute experience. You're already healing yourself and doing awesome things for yourself. So you are doing it. You're not trying to journal more. You are journaling more. You are going deeper into yourself so you can be a better, awesomer version of yourself. So shift your mindset on that word for sure. Like that's my biggest pet peeve with people right now. It's like, you're already doing it. Stop belittling yourself.
I think we're always looking for results. So we're in that kind of a culture. We have to be producing it. If we're not producing it, but it's not
so true.
And this is a journey that takes a while. And like you talked about, should was a huge word for me, and I hardly say that now. But I did that through writing. So I would go back and I'd read through my writings and I go, oh, and my automatic writings always were like, should, try. Why isn't this working? And I was like, well, maybe because I don't believe in the word should. So what can replace that?
Right. Like, I don't have time. That would be something that I used to say. And now I don't use that excuse because that's not true. Everyone has the same 24 hours. I say I'm prioritizing this now. And this is on a back burner. And like, this is something that I'm going to do next year. And like, I have my goals and stuff laid out so that they are achieved and they are moving forward. And I'm not going to be like, oh my God, here's 20 new things that I learned from an awesome workshop. I need to do it all now. I'm like, I'm prioritizing this, and then I'm going to add that in when this is a habit, and that's how I structure that.
So your words, power of words, there's so much more than just those two words, and there's so many other ways that you can use words as a form of power. Again, we totally go in more depth than that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I guess I wanted to talk about affirmations too, because especially with my little journey prompt, I started working on affirmations, and affirmations, in my opinion, are something you can also use to completely remake your life. So retell yourself, retell your identity, your story, and they're an incredibly potent tool.
I've been doing them, and they were hard for me. Affirmations were really, really hard for me to do, and especially where like my whole life really revolves around language and structure and all that sorts of thing. That, you know, I had to start with I'm willing, and I'm very stubborn. I don't know if any of you are stubborn, but resistance was a big piece for me too. So I had always like, I'm willing to, and I think I spent 2 years in this I'm willing to phase, and then all of a sudden one day I was doing it. I noticed I was doing one thing all the time. I was like, great. So I kept working and working, and so affirmations were hard, but they really turned around, especially when I started kind of writing them. I changed. Instead of just having a one-line sentence, I made a story out of it, or I would write a poem about it, and all of a sudden things changed. So it's kind of about, and you get to learn yourself that way through writing in a way, and it's something that maybe you never thought was there, and it's really great to discover that really helpful part of yourself.
And I agree, like I have post-its up all over the house. Like I started it on my journey and I still have it, where like at the beginning I put like I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm successful, and like you can put whatever you want as like the old version and flip it to the new version. So if you're like, I'm unsuccessful or I'm poor or whatever, like you can flip it to be like, I'm so successful, I'm wealthy, and added just incredible things in there so that you're saying really good things to yourself on a regular basis. And even on the Love Light show yesterday, we were talking about money mindset. You could even say like the next version of yourself. So we were first being like, I'm a millionaire, but neither of us are millionaires. So we can be like, that's for sure going to happen for you guys. But I'm like, it worked for me when I was in my corporate job and miserable. And I'm like, I'm a full-time happiness coach and healer. I'm a full-time happiness coach and healer. I'm a full-time happiness coach and healer all the time. And when I was very disappointed by like working late again or doing things, I'm like, I'm a full-time happiness coach and healer. And it happened, and I'm like, yes. And it's so like powerful. I like can't even begin to explain to you guys how many things that I've like deeply ingrained in myself now that weren't there several years ago because I've used affirmations. So if you can't remember it, put the post-its up, put a reminder on your phones, like it dings and you have a little reminder saying like, I'm beautiful or whatever, or I'm healthy, or whatever you're going through as a struggle right now, you can say that, or I'm healing, those kind of things.
And we'll definitely, if you attend the workshop, we'll definitely talk about further affirmations and mantras and ways that you can use those tools, form them, shape them, and really unveil possibilities that you can create for yourself with those kinds of tools and techniques.
Jen is also going to do a lovely healing experience that you guys can get a little taste tester of that, especially if you've just done that writing experience.
So we, at the workshop, we'll be doing a healing at the end, but we're giving you a little sample of that as well here. Because your 2 minutes of writing may have started to uncover something that's awkward, uncomfortable, perhaps something that's really touching some heartstrings. So I want you to know that it's safe for you to do this, that it's safe for you to let it go and to process it. So I'm also a Theta Healing practitioner, and through Theta Healing, this is how I'm offering this healing to you. So if you want this download, what you need to do is simply say yes. You can say that out loud, I recommend it, or you can say it in your head, but you need to feel it, you need to mean it. So yes, I want this as my life or in my life. So I'm connecting, and I am offering that everything that you have started to touch through your writing experience, I ask that that be opened in the most helpful, healing, and joyful way, that you're able to safely look at this part of yourself and uncover the pieces that are ready to be moved and released, that it's safe for you to let them go in joy and in ease, and that you know how to identify these pieces and reshape them so that you get to take your power back in your life. You get to reclaim who you are through identifying and working through these pieces of yourself. And I ask that you be shown that you're worthwhile to do this, that it's in your birthright to take your power back and to shape your story the way you choose to create it and choose to write it. That it's safe and joyful and easy for you to stand in that power, and that you can do that without it ever being taken away from you again. And I ask that you be shown the layers as they present themselves in a joyful, easy way, and that it's safe for you to heal them as you see them. And I will integrate that now with love and compassion for all in the most joyful, easy way as per your source. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're so awesome.
Yes, like me, whatever name you want to put on it. If you want to say God, Creator, Source Energy, Universe, Spirit, Angels, whatever your higher power is, that's how you get it.
Yes.
So definitely let us know how that was for you guys, how that writing experience was. Even if you're catching the replay, I always love to hear from you. And if you have a friend who needs this in their life, who needs to rewrite their story or just think about it a little bit differently and start making those little baby steps, I encourage you to invite them to watch this, to share it with them, to share it to your page if you feel called to, so that you can get this message out to help people rewrite their story, because there can be so many victim stories. I know I used to have a ton of victim stories. Like, I still catch myself and find subconscious limiting beliefs of victim stories. Like, it's crazy how many there are, and it's so disempowering to live your life like that. Like, ignorance is not bliss. It causes so much suffering, and when we can change our stories, it can really change our life. So I really encourage you guys to do that work. And thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm so excited that my audience got to experience all this wonderfulness. And I would really love if you could share more about your workshop and how they can get in contact with you guys after the show, and when the workshop is for the Moncton people who are in that area.
So we're offering this workshop locally in the Moncton, New Brunswick area. And if you're able to attend, it's going to be this Thursday. So that is the 22nd?
22nd. 6 to 9.
Yes, and that will be at Spirit Fox Wellness on Lutz Street. You can email sh.edgett@gmail.com or go over to my Facebook, Spirit Fox Wellness, and send me a message there if you're interested in registering. I will attach a link here to the workshop event, and I don't know what else to add. It's $40 if you're interested in attending, which in my opinion is a pretty good steal, because
two professionals.
We're both experts in what we do, and the people who attended the last one really had really good things to say. You know, they were surprised at what they discovered within themselves.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a wonderful experience. We'd love for you to join us.
And if you're just interested in our individual expertise, like I said, I'm Spirit Fox Wellness. You can find me on Facebook. And Kayla?
Yep, you can find me on Facebook as well. I run the Golden Hour, so I do creative writing education, mentoring, and full service editing and writing.
Awesome. Very cool. So I'll definitely get them to put their links in the comments afterwards as well, so you guys can easily click on that and get the access. And Bridget had said thank you. A great video, a lot of work.
Oh, thank you, Bridget.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot to work on. And that's fine. Like, we're always in the middle of our journeys. Like, I know at the beginning I had this goal in my head that maybe I would reach it someday. And we're always learning and growing. Like, there's always things in our past to deal with. Like, we're currently experiencing life. Like, there's going to be things that we need to heal. So, don't get caught in oh my gosh, there's so much, or there's so much that's happened. Just keep focusing on your next baby step. That's so manageable that you can just be like, this is what I'm called to do. So if you're called to do a longer version of this writing experience, go back and replay it, do that. If you're called to the workshop, do that. If you're called to reaching out and getting a one-on-one session, do that. Do whatever your next little baby step is to support you on your journey, and not be like, oh my God, there's so much. You can do so much one baby step at a time. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys again for being our beautiful guests today and sharing all of your wonderful knowledge. And I hope that you guys have an awesome week, and I'm sending you guys lots of love and light. Bye.